Welcome back. It's been
Hey.
3 months since our last episode, and even though we're recording the day after Christmas, I still think it's a Christmas miracle, Nathan. How about you?
Yes, sir, man. It's a long time coming, but it's a gift
Long
to
time
everybody who's
coming. It's
watching.
been
Gift to everyone who's watching.
Thank you for watching, for sticking with us. We're excited. We're trying to get more content. We finally figured out a structure that's going to allow us to get videos out quicker and allow us to like edit them quicker, allow us to make them quicker, and allow us to make them shorter too. We realized that we were making 20, 25-minute videos and they were kind of getting boring in between. So we're going to try and get it to like 10 to 12 minutes. And our new structure is going to be making weekly picks based on the NFL, but we're going to add in some sports betting into it as well. But just a disclaimer real quick, neither of us are able to bet. So if you want to bet, it's on you. But these are the picks that if we could bet that we would genuinely put money on. So Nathan, let's hear your picks of the week.
All right, sounds good. So for the first two games that I'm going to make picks for, first game I'm going to do is Rams versus Seahawks. So this game was really hard for me to decide certain things just because on multiple factors, this is basically an even game, and based on the odds, Vegas thinks so too. So for this game, if I were to pick one thing to bet on, it would probably be taking the under. So the under for this week for this game is 47.5 total points. Reasons for that, Cam Akers on the Rams is out, so their run game is definitely going to be questionable. Not only that, but their offense has always been inconsistent this year for whatever reason. So for that reason, I would take the under. And then Seattle's offense is going against the Rams defense. And throughout the whole year, the only thing consistent on the Rams has been their defense. And their
I
defense has
agree with
only
that.
allowed 19.2 points per game. And not only that, we're talking about the Rams' inconsistent offense, plus the fact that Seattle's defense has actually been stepping it up lately. They got Carlos Dunlap in action, and Jamal Adams is back in action too. And throughout the past three games, they've only allowed 11.7 points per game. Granted, they didn't play like the best opponents, but like still, that's still
That's
noticeable.
still really good. I
Yeah,
think they really revamped their defense this year. They had a lot of
absolutely.
questions, but Jamal Adams really answered a lot of those questions. So I agree with that. And
Yep,
and under is a good bet.
yep.
I agree. And also the Seahawks offense is kind of inconsistent lately.
Hmm.
Russ has been kind of off a little bit.
That is true. After
Um,
that Bills game, he hasn't really been the same.
yeah, like
He was like,
he started
mhm,
off really well and then kind of dropped off. I really don't know
yeah,
what that is, but I agree. I think
hmm,
inconsistent offense on both sides, good defenses on both sides. I could really see
hmm,
the under hitting here.
under. Yep. So there's my pick for that one. And then the second game I'm going to talk about is the Packers and Titans. Obviously, I have a little bit of bias because I'm a Packers
Of
fan.
course, of
But
course.
this
I
game,
love how you word
the,
that.
I gotta mention that. Otherwise, people are going to think that maybe I'm a little crazy. Who knows? But for this game, I'm going to use the over under again. And for this game, I'm going to pick the over, and the over is set at 54.5 total points. Reason for that, these are two of the highest scoring offenses in the league. Tennessee's actually number one. They average 31.1 points per game. And Green Bay is number three, and they average 31 points per game. So we're talking about two of the strongest offenses in the league. And then not only that, you got Aaron Rodgers and Derrick Henry. Packers run defense, as a Packers fan, it pains me to
That's
say
pretty
this, but
questionable.
it's the truth. It is terrible to watch Green Bay try to defend any running back. King Henry runs over everybody, so I expect him to absolutely rampage over our defense. Uh, Matt LaFleur, I expect him to come up with a good game plan just because, like, this is probably going to be our statement win prior to the playoffs. And so I think we're going to have a lot of good schemes in place. And then on top of that, I was looking at the injury report. We don't have any significant losses outside of Jamal Williams, but I think we'll be okay there. And the Titans don't have any significant injuries either. So for those
Mhm.
reasons, I think I would pick the
You know,
over for this week.
that's I agree. Like I can definitely see the over hitting, especially
Hmm.
with I think this could be a shootout. Um, but I think the Titans defense, like what are your thoughts on that? Do you think they'll really stop Aaron Jones or be able to cover Devontae Adams? Because Packers offense like wasn't bad against the Panthers. It just
Hmm.
wasn't anything special. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? They
Well,
weren't
here's
like
what
great.
happens.
They
Like
were
as
they
a,
were good. The defense was a statement. Like the defense played well against the Panthers, I think.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're the
Um,
Panthers, so it's not that big of a deal.
it's
But here's the
yeah,
thing. As a Colts fan, you already know that we can score heavily in the first half and then just do absolutely nothing in the second half. So, like in that game, we scored 28 points on your defense in the first half, and then after that, we just did nothing. And that's
yeah.
like the common theme for our team. I think LaFleur gets it fixed this week, hopefully, just because we're so close to the playoffs, and this would be like our statement win going in. And then Tennessee's defense hasn't been the best. Like they allowed the Browns. I mean, granted, the Browns' offense is like insane with their running attack, with Chubb and Kareem Hunt, but they allowed 41 points to the Browns. So on top of that, they just allow a lot of points in general. So like I think it's gonna be a shootout, and I would just take the over for this week
I
on
think if
those
it
points.
turns into a shootout, which I think it will, I think the over will hit. I'm a little iffy on based off the Packers' offensive performance against the Panthers.
Mm-hmm.
Will they be a little slow out the gate
Mm-hmm.
against the Titans? I
Yep.
want to see that. I think the first half will
Mm-hmm.
answer that question for us. But yeah, I really like those picks. I
Mm-hmm.
think they have a really good chance of hitting. My two favorite picks of the week are Giants and Ravens matchup.
Okay.
I think we all agree that the Ravens are a heavy favorite,
Yep.
but I'm taking the spread at -10.
Mm-hmm.
And I honestly think that's a lock. I was looking at the Ravens schedule,
Mm-hmm.
and they were pretty bad mid season. They were, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say bad, but they weren't great.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but after that Steelers loss, 19-14, where they were predicted to get destroyed, the next 3 weeks they put up 34 against the Cowboys, 47 against the Browns, and then 40 against the Jags.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, not the most difficult matchups.
Mm-hmm.
That Browns matchup was honestly probably the game of the year, or at
Mm-hmm.
least one of them.
Yep.
But that offense is now putting up points. Lamar Jackson is now finding ways to put
Mm-hmm.
up points. And that Giants offense is not doing anything without Saquon Barkley. They
Mm-hmm.
barely put up 6 points. Now, granted, Joe Judge had some questionable calls, like going for it on fourth down and going for some fake field goals there, but that offense is not putting up more than 20 points. And especially the Ravens defense, I
Mm-hmm.
doubt they'll even get to 20. So
Mm-hmm.
I would say, like, if I had to predict the score, I'd say 24-10,
Okay.
27-10, and I think Ravens take that spread um
Okay.
very easily.
So my only thing with this is I think it's a right pick, but I just want to get your opinion on this. Giants defense has been effective lately. Like they have slowed Russ down, they have slowed other teams down. I'm just curious to know like what your thoughts on Giants
I
defense
agree. I
comes to
know
that.
you're not wrong with that. Like
Mm-hmm.
that was only like my one concern. The
Mm-hmm.
Giants defense keeps them in games.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think I just think based off the Ravens offense and their like production like they've had the past 3 weeks
Mm-hmm.
kind of gives them the edge in this week's matchup.
Okay, that's fair. I agree with that.
They've averaged 40 points, so I don't think they'll put up 40. I don't.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they won't even put up 30, but
Mm-hmm.
I do think that they will win by more than 10 points.
Okay, that's fair. I
And
agree
then
with that.
lastly, Colts Steelers. I am taking the
Ooh.
Colts money line. This is a big game for the Colts. Huge
Mm-hmm.
game for the Colts. If they
Mm-hmm.
win, and then Titans lose, they take control of the division. So Colts, this is pretty much a playoff game for the Colts. We're
Mm-hmm.
playing for seeding, and pretty much home advantage. So this is a huge game for the Colts. It's also a big game for the
Okay.
Steelers.
Uh-huh.
Like they've pretty
Well,
much
seriously.
lost the one seed.
Oh, yeah,
They
for
might
sure.
even drop to the wild card. They might lose the division.
That's
So it's a
true.
big game for both sides, but
Mm-hmm.
Steelers do not have a run game.
Correct.
Like that's just not very good. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Snell Jr. had about 85 yards against the Bengals, but
Mm-hmm.
Colts have a top 5, top 10 rush defense.
Mm-hmm.
So I have no concerns there.
Mm-hmm.
Big Ben was throwing the ball really well the first 11 games, but if you're watching that Bengals game,
Mm-hmm.
he was making some horrible reads, some really bad reads. He had
Mm-hmm.
Claypool down the middle for a lot of posts, but he
Mm-hmm.
was taking the contested out routes. So not really understanding a lot there, what
Mm-hmm.
that thought process was. So I'm not really big on Big Ben right now.
Mm-hmm. Fair.
Also, like offense isn't that great,
Mm-hmm.
and Steelers defense is just amazing. So
Mm-hmm.
I would also take the under on this game. I'm not taking the
Mm-hmm.
under for our picks.
Hmm.
I think it'll be low scoring, but I
Hmm.
think Jonathan Taylor, Naheem Hines will be a little too much for the Steelers defense to handle.
Oh,
And
that's
I
a
just don't see this. Really? You don't? Oh, we'll talk about that.
Steelers
Um,
defense is elite, brother. But yeah, go ahead.
they're very good. They're very good.
Hmm.
But Giovanni Bernard
Hmm.
getting 2 touchdowns on the Steelers, that's a little bit questionable to me. And
That's true.
also overall, just the mentality of the Steelers. That's a I mean, they barely beat the Ravens. That was mentally like they should have beat the Ravens easily and
Hmm.
about 3-4 weeks ago.
Hmm.
But that didn't happen. They barely won it. And even Big Ben was talking about that was a mental game. They mentally were not prepared, and then
Hmm.
right after that, they lost 3 straight.
Corvette, Corvette.
So and they're more interested in dancing than playing
More interested
football.
in TikToks than actually trying to win games. But that's okay. But
Yeah.
yeah, I agree with
So
you.
I'm taking the Colts
Pittsburgh,
money line.
yeah, no, Pittsburgh's offense. There's nothing there, bro. Like they don't have a run game. Deontay Johnson can't hold on to a ball for his life.
They have
Big
the
Ben's
most drops
arms,
in the league, I'm pretty
yeah,
sure.
yeah. He like I've watched Deontay Johnson play. He's trash. And then Big Ben's arm is not what it used to be. He can't stretch the field. Their offense relies on 2-second passes, but when you can't run the ball, it's so easy to cover that. So like, yeah, I
Yeah.
would take the Colts for sure, no question there.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, we've only had 4 picks, but
Hmm.
talking through them, like they have a good chance of hitting.
I'd say so.
Overall, like it's that when I put it into the
Hmm.
into the odds maker,
Hmm.
that our 4 picks, our odds are at plus 1230. So if
Hmm.
we were to put down $5, you'd win $61.52. And
You
it
can
feels like a
bet.
lot. It
You
feels
can
like a
bet.
lot.
Put the money down.
If we betted that, we would make $61.52 this Sunday.
We have a lot of justification for each of these. So yeah, if you have money and you're willing to take a bet on us, then try it. See what happens.
Try it out. See what happens. You really have nothing to lose.
Hmm.